Here's another part that I've noticed too about speaking with people, let's say on the more affluent side of life. They tend to have, okay, so I'm speaking more to the people who weren't born into the affluent side of life. The people who were born on the more affluent side of life, their issues tend to be it's going to be the same shit. But at the core, their bigger issue is being confused because they have XYZ. Why aren't they happy? Right? It's because they have the money. It's because they have they'll reach a point where they reflect on it. It's like, well, I have a car, I have money, I have a nice house. I just bought another house on the other side of the planet. Like I should be happy, right? Why aren't I? And see, these are the parts that Andrew Tate don't probably doesn't, or somebody who would say something like that. Maybe he just somebody who would say something like Andrew Tate said. Don't you see? Because they're not a professional in this field, so they don't talk to people like that on deeper levels. So this, but I do. So what happens is the more affluent side, they'll reach a point because their ultimate form of enlightenment is to see that the money's not going to solve them from human problems. Sometimes something fucks up because it's just not your fault, right? Sometimes something fucks up that was out of your control. And to me, I feel like the more fluent they are, the harder they have to the harder the deeper the enlightenment comes to realize that, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, in this group, now I'm thinking about it, pretty much I would say 10 out of 10. It would always come back to this. It would go, it would go, yeah, I have watches, I have a car, I have a beautiful house. Like I have this, I have that, I have this. Like, how come I'm in so much trouble now? Right? As if like, the house, the car, the watches, whatever the fuck is gonna play is gonna play God and come down and fix it because it's just a box full of Rolex watches. That's what a friend of mine I say his first name because it's a very common name, Tom. I remember he took me upstairs in his house and showed me like all his. This dude had tons of Rolex watches, like tons of them. Beautiful house, all that shit, dude. Like beautiful. I didn't even Tom's like my uncle, right? I didn't even know like designer fucking chairs existed. Like until my uncle showed me that shit. Like I didn't even know there was such thing as like designer tables, designer chairs, designer microwaves, designer shit, like designer stuff in this format. I didn't even know this shit existed. Designer lamps, like my uncle, he was the first one to introduce me to this shit. And Tom was one of them type of dudes. Like he was into all that, right? But again, at the end of the day, from the affluent side, it's more like, how come I don't like why am I not happy? Because I have this, right? I have it. So why am I not? And for them, in my opinion, the harder part for the more fluent side is come to the realization of you're human. These are just human problems. Suffering, grief, these are just human. This is human, right? Where I think the lesser affluent side, like the poorer side will just take out their frustrations on rich people. They just hate billionaires. They hate millionaires because they keep the money and they don't give it to them and they hate it. And I think they find the poor side will find more solace in that because secretly deep down they think that making $1 million a year is going to solve all their problems because they never experienced in any way, shape, or form of the affluent side. They don't know what it's like to just talk to some friends and say, hey, yeah, let's go fly here. Don't worry about it. I pay for it. Don't worry about it. I just want to go. Right? They don't know what that's like. I mean, not like the Cheesecake Factory. I'm talking like it's to a whole other country. Shit, you know what I mean? Like some shit like that. Like they don't know what that's like. So since the poorer side has essentially been locked out of these worlds, like their imagination starts to destroy them, right? And it just turns them angry and mad. Now, some poor people do have reasons to be mad because they're just poor and they're just struggling, and nobody likes to struggle, right? Because if they did, poor people give their money away. Nobody likes to struggle. So I mean, there is validation to it, but I think on the overwhelming consensus of it, I think that's the core issue. Is the poor are just are angry at the rich because they never really experienced that lifestyle, and the rich will end up look, they're seeing counselors, therapists, just like the poor people, right? They just may not be walking around talking about it with their friends or nothing like that, but they doing the same shit. They got drinking problems, money problems too. They the spousal issues. It's all it never stops, dude. These are human problems.